Today on the DML News Podcast, the new year starts off with some terrorist attacks, both in sync as far as I'm concerned. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Trump, the new year, some good stuff too. And it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. On the other side of me is my son, Denny, and on the controls is my son, Ryan. We thank you for being with us. We hope you and your family had a wonderful Christmas and a very safe new year. We enter this year very excited about what can be. Donald J. Trump has a Congress behind him. He has a Supreme Court behind him, and he's got 75 million people at a minimum who are going to champion for everything he does. We need to make America great again. The country is an absolute complete mess, and today's show will be indicative of how messy it is. We are basically 20 days away from Trump taking the Oval Office, and it feels as if it's 2 years away. That's how bad it is. The Joe Biden damage done to this country is not going to be fixed in a day. It's not going to be fixed in a month. We're lucky if it's fixed in a year. The good news is we've got a guy who knows how to fix things. We've got a guy who knows how to build things in Donald J. Trump. If you think that tomorrow, the next day, or January 21st, is one day closer to all things being fixed, well, you're right. But it's going to take a long time, and this show promises to give you all the news and all the insight and all the reporting that you need in order to be able to monitor that progress. Not only will you be able to feel it in your own life and in your own neighborhood, in your own county and state, but we're going to hope to bring you the sort of news that's going to enlighten you, and you're going to be able to share it with other people. So this way, Make America Great Again becomes intoxicating. It almost becomes a virus of a good kind, where everybody starts to feel it. We all got the contagion, and we're all starting to see our life and our country regain the greatness that it once had before Barack Obama came in and promised to fundamentally transform everything into something that I don't know about you, but I don't recognize my country anymore. There are very, very few aspects of my country that I could look at and say, yeah, that's what it was like when I grew up. And so there's a level of disappointment in all of us. How did we allow it to get like this? How did we allow it to be to where innocent people on New Year's Eve are mowed down? How did we allow it to be to where on New Year's Day, a Cybertruck can just explode in front of a Trump hotel? How did we allow it to be so this way people could just get pushed in front of a subway car? How do we get it to where illegal aliens can be burning somebody alive on a subway in New York City? Our country is in complete chaos. And Donald J. Trump is now going to be back in the driver's seat. And we are going to, when I say we, I mean my sons, you, me, and every single person who cast a vote for Donald J. Trump, and even those who did not, who are eventually going to come around and realize they made a mistake. We are all going to have to fight like the Dickens to get the country back to where it should be, where it once was, and where it needs to be in order for our children, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren to be able to live the great American experience. With that being said, I hate to start the new year off with horrible reports. I'd like to just show you the dancing videos of Trump at Mar-a-Lago on New Year's and just say, wow, isn't it euphoric? But I can't do that. Instead, I got to open up this show with my son explaining to you that we have people who are dead, innocent people who were mowed down by a piece of crap who had a ISIS flag in his truck. I then have to tell you about how it is that we have an explosion and a woke FBI that won't admit that this is all connected in terrorism. We have to sit here and go through the painful BS process of listening to people who basically sound like they have glass in their mouth, try to explain to you facts that just make you say, why won't you just call this for what it is? Dennis, first of all, I say to you and Ryan for the second time here, Happy New Year. And one of the New Year's resolutions that I made to myself was that every day I was going to sit back and start my day with you and Ryan and say how lucky of a guy I am, how lucky of a father I am that I'm able to sit here and do a podcast every day with my sons. With that said, I hate to start your new year off here with a report about how people are dead.
And I'm hoping we can provide clarity because since this has happened, there has been such confusion. And I think, as you kind of just mentioned, the FBI and even shockingly local law enforcement have kind of given mixed messages since what happened regarding on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. But from what we've gathered so far, yes, he was flying an ISIS flag. His name is Shamsud Din Jabbar.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So he's not.
But
he's
the
not. He's not
media-
celebrating
yes.
St. Patrick's Day,
No,
is he?
although the
Yeah.
media is liberal media, I should say, is emphasizing on he's a Texas-born,
Oh, my ass.
citizen.
Yeah.
42 years old. He did serve in the U.S. military. In fact,
Yeah, that's a problem.
what's kind of crazy is that he was born Catholic, and it seems like he was radicalized over time to then convert to Islam. His younger brother also converted as well. But if you look at his service record, I mean, he is decorated. I'm looking at a report from True News. I mean, he is decorated with Army awards. I mean, so this is a guy who served the country and yet somewhere along the line got inspired to join ISIS, at least in the sense of joining their ranks, but being a domestic terrorist. And what's kind of crazy with this guy is that he was using a rented pickup truck with Texas license plates. However, authorities have confirmed that that pickup truck crossed over the U.S. border from Mexico on November 16th.
Mhm.
So as we can kind of, hope that as investigators are going in and looking more as to where the connection is as to why this guy was using a rented pickup truck in the first place, because he was shot dead when he did commit the attack.
Well, let's
And I
talk
think
about.
we're at 15 people.
15 people
confirmed
dead.
killed.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about exactly what happened for those people who are like, "What are you talking about?"
Well, yeah. So on Bourbon Street, which I was just there only 2 years ago too, and it's one of those like party atmospheres where it's a street, but you're really walking around. So this guy
Walking in the street. you
walking
mean.
in the street,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like when I had gone there for a little fun vacation with a buddy, you really couldn't drive down it because people, especially when you get past the midnight hour, everyone's drinking, they're hanging out. So when I read and heard about it, I can only imagine if since being there of like how much it must have been just a lineup for this pickup truck. But this was around 3 a.m. Obviously, people
I think we got
celebrating
video.
off of
Are
New
you going to
Year's
play the
Eve.
video, Ryan? Play
Yeah,
the video while Dennis is explaining this. We have various video
Yeah,
of what
yeah.
actually took place.
So-
Go ahead.
So you'll see in the video, people are walking around, and as they're walking around, I can't even know how to pronounce his name, Din Jabbar, took the pickup truck and kind of beelined it down the street, struck countless amounts of people. In fact, I know it's 15 people that have been massacred, but I think we're up to 40 people that are actually in the hospital from this rampage. So drove right into all those people, those New Year's Eve party goers, then got into a shootout with the police officers that were on Bourbon Street, and he was killed. So in terms of investigating him directly, we're not going to be able to, but hopefully we can find traces as to what made this guy, decide that he was going to do New Orleans and attack there. Unless, as you've mentioned over time on the podcast, we're going to start seeing these little mini terror attacks that are going to kind of happen in these little bunches.
Yesterday I wound up getting a text message from Tiffany Justice. She is the founder of Moms for Liberty. And we met each other about 2 years ago. And she sent me this story. And she says, the first time I ever met you, you said to me that terror attacks would be carried out in this country where people are just driving the cars down and mowing people down. We don't need to fly airplanes anymore into buildings. We don't even need to knock out, power supplies and nuclear stations. We could just terrorize people simply by mowing them down. And I said, yeah. I said, but the problem is I'm a racist, meaning like, nobody ever wants to listen when we warn about Islam and radical Islam and radicalization and all these mosques that we've allowed to just open up and spree up. I mean, you go to Texas, there's there's this old crazy narrative these days that's still alive, that you go to Texas and you're going to find cowboys with boots, Stetson hats, and spurs. And although a lot of that still exists, thank goodness, I can take you to parts of Texas outside Houston, where if I blindfolded you and I said, now open your eyes, where are you? You'd say, are we in Syria, Iraq, Iran, Yemen? Where are we? No, you're in Houston. We've allowed this country to go out of control. The United States of America is a Judeo-Christian country. We were born on the principles of we trust in God. And the more that we allow the presence of Allah, and I know this will be controversial because everybody will be like, hey, America's free. You could come here and do any religion you want. You're right. You want to be a Jew? You want to be an atheist? That's fine with you. The problem I've always had with radical Islam is that it takes on a different type of tone of any other religion. You're going to have bad apples in every religion. There's no doubt. I can sit here and tell you stories about priests who touched little boys. But when it comes down to it, these radical Islamics will just kill people for the sake of no reason at all. And we brush it off and try to make it sound like, oh, well, no, it's a nice religion. We just can't blame everybody. My ass. I lived 9/11. You ain't going to tell me anything different.
Well, that's why I get terribly disappointed in our top law enforcement that they try to ignore or downplay that it is radical. I mean, what pisses me off about when this happens is that it's almost the same pattern every time. And with this guy, the Jabbar, they confirmed it. Video evidence over time showing how he was getting radical. He was divorcing. I think he had 2 different divorces. Video confession that he has idealized about killing his family in the name of ISIS. So you have this breadcrumb trail. A year ago, FBI even descended on his house as part of their investigation. So when you see the whole classic meme of we had him on our radar, but they do nothing about it.
Yep.
It's like you can blame the Islam as much as you can because we know, we know at this point, it is radical, it is violent, it is dangerous. It's on how our officials who don't act on it, who just let it pass by.
And there you go. It's more than just the radical Islam, because the radical Islam in of itself is a disease, and a very scary disease at that. But even as equally scary is what's called political correctness through our agencies, specifically the FBI, who are going to tap dance around all this BS. I can't wait for Kash Patel to go in and be sitting on that FBI. He ain't going to take this kind of crap. And if he does, if he starts turning that kind of cheek, we're like, whoa, boy, did he shock us. Get rid of him on day one. Don't allow him to metastasize and put somebody else in there. I don't expect that from Kash Patel. I don't expect that at all. But you can't be surprised at how the FBI has gone soft when you look at Barack Obama promising a fundamental transformation that he started in motion with Joe Biden. We had 4 years of, not even 4 years, I should say 2 years of starting to take those bricks down. Then COVID comes, disrupts everything that Trump was doing, lays up the perfect steel. Now we've got Biden in there carrying on what Obama wanted to set up, which was a radical transformation of this country. Joe Biden gets on. We got a clip of this. Joe Biden gets on, the teleprompter breaks down. He's talking about New Orleans. He looks like an absolute train wreck. We've only got 20 more days of this clown. And then I hope whoever it is that the Trump administration's got to do it. I don't know if it's Kash Patel. I don't know if it's the DOJ. I don't know who it is. There needs to be investigations into this guy, because where there's smoke, there's fire. And I'm telling you, Joe Biden has done horrible things to this country that probably if you dig down deeper, you'll find them. Ryan, do we got Joe Biden and his most latest disastrous appearance? Play it.
And more explosives were found nearby. The situation is very fluid, and the investigation has a preliminary stage. And the fact is that right now, excuse me, there you go. The law enforcement and intelligence community are continuing to look for any connections, associations, or co-conspirators. We have nothing additional to report at this time.
What an absolute embarrassment that man is. Anybody who voted for that guy has to be questioned. Let's not forget Elon Musk voted for that guy. Just putting it out there. Anybody who voted for Joe Biden has got to be mentally checked.
I don't understand how Democrats don't see that and don't realize this is why they're just an absolute laughing stock. I mean, no empathy, no emotion shown, no leadership quality shown. I mean, reading off the teleprompter could barely care less. Just very representative of your boss who just doesn't care anymore and he's just checked out. So, kind of like you said, I'm hoping that these next 20 days fly by. Trump actually released a statement on the attack itself through his Truth Social. He wrote, "When I said the criminals coming in are far worse than the criminals we have in our country, that statement was constantly refuted by Democrats and the fake news media, but it turned out to be true. The crime rate in our country is at a level that nobody has ever seen before. Our hearts are with all the innocent victims and their loved ones, including the brave officers of the New Orleans Police Department. The Trump administration will fully support the city of New Orleans as they investigate and recover from this act of pure evil."
Yeah, and he also put out a new one too. So this one is, with the Biden open borders policy, I said many times during rallies and elsewhere that radical Islamic terrorism and other forms of violent crime will become so bad in America that it will become hard to even imagine or believe. That time has come, only worse than ever imagined. Joe Biden is the worst president in the history of America, a complete and total disaster. What he and his group of election interfering thugs have done to our country will not soon be forgotten. Signed it off by MAGA. And, we're going to get to this in a second about something with Trump and where I'm already at disagreement with him on something where you can't burn both candles, at both ends. And that's what he's doing in a specific spot here, especially with the H-1B visas. And I know these guys aren't on H-1B visas, but nonetheless, we have to really crack down heavily about who comes into this country and who's allowed to stay in this country. Now, before we get deep into that, let's move over to Las Vegas.
Yes.
So yesterday, Las Vegas had its own share of terror. Tell them what happened. And I think, Ryan, you've got the video. So when he starts talking about the Cybertruck, you could start playing it.
Right. Well, and this is where it's going to get weird because there's a possibility of the connection with these two events. So in Las Vegas yesterday, there was a Cybertruck, which we know Elon Musk's Tesla designs and creates and manufactures, that exploded in front of the Trump International Hotel in Vegas, which is, Mar-a-Lago is probably the top spot for Trump, but he was there for, watching the DNC, as we saw in Art of the Surge. He's there quite a bit. So it's a big Trump location for him too. But the Cybertruck exploded and, there was the debate of, was it the truck itself? Is it something that was rigged to blow? Turns out it was. There was IEDs and different explosive devices in the truck. And they even identified the man who was the driver or was operating the Cybertruck, 37-year-old Matthew Livelsberger, who also has a U.S. military service record and even served at the same military base as Din Jabbar at one point.
Yeah. And it's funny, too.
And rented the Cybertruck from the same ride-sharing company, Turo, that the New Orleans driver.
Right. So let's think about that for 1 second, right? So all these people who are telling you that it's just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence. Just a coincidence. The whole mainstream media, just a coincidence. We've got 2 vehicle attacks on the same day within hours of each other, right? That's number 1. Number 2, both vehicles rented via Turo, as you just said. Both suspects U.S. veterans. Both suspects served at the same military base. I mean, you've got to be kidding me to anybody who says that this isn't coordinated. And you have to wonder how many other events were probably planned and couldn't be carried out either because somebody chickened out, something didn't work the right way, or whatever it may be. Or is this going to wind up being a sense of copycat where we're just going to get used to this is like Israel now? It's the new norm.
Well, let me tell you, the in-depth look into this has been insane. I mean, even people just saying it almost representative of that it was a Cybertruck that exploded in front of a Trump hotel. Because a very big contentious point has been, will the Musk-Trump friendship and alliance really last throughout the next 4 years? And it's hopeful, especially if they can really do good with the DOGE that they're trying to implement. But then when you have the H-1B visa debate unfolding across X, and that kind of becomes a cascade of, or I should say a divide between those that want to help the industry of the tech giants, or those that are more on the traditional MAGA side of like, hey, remember 2016 where we said the H-1B visa program was a scam and we got to get rid of it? So with that division, and then you kind of see something like this happen, you got people who kind of just like, wow, January 1st, this is quite the event to kind of happen on the first day of the new year.
You know, we spoke about the H-1B yesterday briefly, and it has been a very hot topic over the last week, 2 weeks online. And the reason why it's getting so much attention is because Elon Musk is championing for it. And one of the things, and we don't have the video here, so it really doesn't matter, but one of the things that took place on New Year's Eve was that, Elon Musk is sitting there right next to Donald J. Trump. Every time I see Donald J. Trump, I see Elon Musk. And you know who I want to see instead? I want to see J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is the future of the country if MAGA works out. Elon Musk is not. And so, Elon Musk was a Democrat just 6 months ago, 7 months ago, 8 months ago, whenever it is that you want to say that, you start the trigger. I mean, you could make an argument that he didn't turn out to be a conservative voter until November. So up until November, he was a Democrat because you're only as good as your last vote. And so, J.D. Vance is what we were told, who we were told was going to be the torchbearer. And that's why he was given the spot. That's why he didn't go to a elder statement like Ben Carson or somebody else who was an older guy. It was J.D. Vance. He's tomorrow. Trump is today. He's tomorrow. I'm not seeing a lot of J.D. Vance. I'm seeing a lot of Elon Musk. And, I've championed for Elon Musk, and I will continue. There's a great amount of things about him, and I will talk about them all day long until I'm blue in the face. But at the end of the day, one of the major problems we have in this country is the immigration issue. I have been screaming about this forever. I mean, I have talked about Islam and the dangers of Islamic terrorists coming across the border. I've been laughed at earlier in my career. I was called a hater. I was called a scumbag. I was called all this different stuff. Meanwhile, I saw it with my own two eyes. And now it has metastasized to there are so many people that are practicing this radical religion, so many of them coming in through the border, other ones coming in through H-1B, other ones coming through regular chain migration. And everybody's just sitting there being like, wow, the demographics are changing. Yeah, no crap. It isn't going to be long until we are looking at something like Turkey, where Turkey now is completely radicalized. And just go back 10 years ago, it wasn't like that at all. We have video right now of New York City, if I'm not mistaken, where hours after these attacks have taken place, they're marching through the streets.
And this was a march.
This was a march about free Palestine. This is New York City. I mean, do you have that video, Ryan? Yeah, there we go. I mean, this is happening in New York City, free Palestine, with Palestinian flags going around. These people are not in celebration of the, Judeo-Christian principles that were formed as the basis of this country.
I don't see one American flag in that entire crowd.
Not one American flag. Get these people and get them out of here. That's it. Get them out of here. There is a limit. I'm told that free speech has its limitations. First of all, on social media, it's got a lot of limitations. You say something positive about Trump, or you try to put something out negative about Biden on Facebook, and you're going to wind up getting your reach is going to be minimized, throttled back. Okay? You turn around, you put something on X now about H-1B visa, and Elon Musk doesn't like it, you're going to be throttled back, or you're going to lose your check mark. Or, people in the last couple of days have actually lost their subscribers. Think about this. Elon Musk has put out the ability for you to say, I want to build my business on X. I'm going to put all my eggs in the basket of X because it's free speech. I can say whatever I want, and people can take out their wallets and say, I want to hear what Bill or Jenny or Dennis or Kevin have to say. I'm going to subscribe to them. This is a program that Elon Musk said, here you go. And then he developed that into, we're going to start phones, we're going to have payment services. This is going to be the everything app. Well, let me tell you something. In the last week, I said, I don't want anything app because it's Facebook 2.0. How do you sit there and build a subscriber base of thousands of people and have them stripped away from you because you said pretty harsh things about the H-1B program? And that's what he's doing. And in fact, on X right now, what's trending is the fact that freedom of speech on X really isn't what we all thought it would be. So there's a huge problem right now. And I will tell you when you say freedom of speech, I'm not allowed to go into a movie theater and say fire if there's not a fire. But I should be able to say, get those people out of my country if they're not going to fly the American flag and if they're anti-American. They're allowed to sit there and go through my streets and do whatever they want. But if I say something about them on social media, I get ratcheted down. How has this happened? This goes back to what I said in the beginning of the program. We can't look at our country anymore and say, I recognize that. I recognize that. And I have been warning about what we're seeing right now for more than a decade. And it really hurts. It really hurts when you look and see how it is that you've been ignored. And now everybody's sitting here, and now we're playing the scramble game. And I'm telling you, if we don't change certain things, what we're seeing right now is going to become the norm. And one of the problems I have with this H-1B visa program is that a lot of these people are coming from countries where Islam is prominent. And they're coming into this country with not a love for this country, but a love for making money. And I don't begrudge anybody for wanting to make money. I want to make money. I want everybody to make money. People who are watching this want to make money. You certainly don't want to lose money. But the statistics bear what it is, the H-1B program. And what it is a fraudulent way of trafficking in people from around the world, paying them less than you would American, and holding their visa over their head. I will give you a prime example of the visa program and how it is that it is disastrous. Let's say, for instance, Dennis, that you were a high-tech specialist. You knew how to code AI, and you want to make $120,000 a year because that is what the market should pay for somebody of your end. If I hire you and I pay you your 120 and I give you your desk and your assignments and you go to work, okay, you can come back into my office a year later, right, as any American citizen would, and come in and say to me, listen, you paid me $120,000, and here are all of my accomplishments. And you list them all. They're amazing what you did. I'd like to get a 10% raise. I say to you, oh, geez, Den, you know, we're trying to build the company right now. It's a little bit tough. And you say, I get that. But Microsoft has just approached me to pay me $150,000. And I don't want to leave all the work I did here, but it's getting pretty expensive in America. So at least give me a 10% raise. As CEO, I've got two choices. I lose you to my competitor, and I don't want to lose you, or I give you that raise. And instinctively, I feel like I lost, even though if I give you the raise and I keep you. Ryan is from India, or Ryan's from Iran, or wherever, China, wherever we're taking him in from. He's got the same skill set as you do. Only I don't have to pay him $120. I pay him $85,000. He does the same exact work that you did. Same thing. I mean, you guys are on par. Perfect. It's almost like you're twins. He comes into my office a year from now and says, hey, Dennis, you know, by the way, I did this unbelievable job. I show you all the different stuff. And I'd like to ask for a raise, you know, a 10% raise. Here's what I tell him. I say, you got two choices. You could either go back to your desk right now, or I can send you back to India. What's it going to be? Because I hold that visa over his head. He does not have the power to go to Microsoft. You do. You hold all the leverage. So if I'm a greedy CEO and I want to pay less wages and know that I'm not going to have him walk into my office and make demands like you would, who are you going to pick? Last year, all right, these companies that wind up using the H-1B took in 35,000 people. And this one statistic, and this was put out by the AG of Virginia. 35,000 H-1Bs, 85,000 people were laid off in the same thing. So in the same year, 85,000 Americans lost their job from this. Let's just say it's 100 companies. Between 100 companies, 85,000 Americans lost their job because they got laid off. And those same 100 companies took in 35,000 more visa H-1Bs. You tell me that this isn't based on undercutting Americans.
It is. It's a scam. It's a scam, and it's a showcase too. And there's been different studies on it as well, that these people are not, they're not even really at the equation scale. Like what you just did comparison, right? Is like, oh, right here, right here. On average, most of them are actually below on the baseline of what a tech developer or a programmer could be. So obviously the cheap labor, but it's not like they're even getting equal to what they would have gone with an American worker on average.
But even if they did,
But even if they did, and then there have been other reports too that if you look at the H-1B visa system and how much it really does focus in on the workers from India, a lot of those Indian workers, if they do get some kind of prominent hiring position, they mostly hire those coming in from India and basically blacklist those that are Americans, sometimes even white Americans, which has been documented, and people are posting it on X to show Elon, this is not only an abuse system, this is just a scam. So,
and that's when you're talking about just H-1B.
yes,
If you look at, for technology, but there are companies that are being allowed to use H-1B for things that have nothing to do with high tech. Cooks, teachers,
gas station attendants. There was even one for a Chippendales stripper. I'm not kidding. There have been people posting how much this visa has been abused across the sector. And then, of course, you look at Elon Musk, Tesla, filled with H-1B hires. Filled. So he obviously has a very, very vested interest in this. And it's either going to be Trump is going to have to play into Musk and those tech giants' hands, because they, came in at the last second to really help with his campaign, or is he going to listen to the traditional Americans who are saying, hey, they're bringing these people in who are taking the jobs. And also, by the way, a lot of these people who are coming in are not very compatible, with acclimating to American culture. Most of them don't actually want to assimilate. And that kind of creates another, further culture war. I mean, we were founded on a predominantly Christian faith, and the fact that, we have radical Islam festering and growing in this country, and then having people like this New Orleans guy converting into the religion, it almost kind of has like a sphere with mental illness in a way.
Well, and this is where I was going to go with the H-1B in terms of that. Our country is taking in so many people every single year.
Yes.
We're taking well over 1 million people per year. Think about that number, over 1 million. That is we're taking in about 100,000 people a year legally. When you take all these visas and everything else and you put them all together, we do not have the infrastructure or the personnel to do real background checks on these people. So what we're doing is we're playing Russian roulette. We're rolling the dice and hoping these people are fine. And I can tell you that somebody coming in on an H-1B visa is absolutely guaranteed vetted less than somebody who's coming in to be a green card holder who has been waiting on the list forever because of chain migration and has to go through. I mean, I always talk about it. Two of my best friends here in town are both legal immigrants. We had one of them on the show.
Yep.
He had to go through unbelievable vetting in order to be able to get into this country. And to this day, he still gets his balls busted, pays so much in taxes, and is yet a great person to be here. They don't vet like that for H-1B visa. No way. And then meanwhile, I post on X, this is the crazy part that bothers the hell out of me with some people on the right. I take a Breitbart headline which said, report, Musk's Tesla replaced laid-off Americans with foreign workers on H-1B visas. The same people who have been championing for immigration's the top issue in this country. We need Trump, close the borders, build the wall. These are the same people, so many of them, that will say, it's not a big deal, these H-1B visas. We just want to...
That's wrong.
They don't know what the F they're talking about.
And I got to say, too, because since this has kind of transpired quite literally since Christmas Day with the H-1B visa debate, a lot of the mainstream media and those on the left are trying to framework it as, there's a civil war within those that are Republicans and MAGA. No, it's not. Because let's remember, with Democrats, they just fall in line and act like sheep. The point of what makes us different is that when we see our leaders that we are maybe more favorable towards screwing up or doing something we're not fans of, you call them out. And you call them out with the backing evidence as to why. It's like you don't just say because, we hate immigrants. That's not the case. we don't want our American elites to abuse a system that is going to disenfranchise the American worker because they want the cheap labor. It's not what anyone would have voted for.
We said it yesterday on the program. H-1B visa. I'm not looking at India, Syria. I'll look at that from the standpoint of I'm worried about terror attack, mostly from Syria and those kind of nations. This has nothing to do with the color of one's skin.
No.
If you had 3 H-1B visa people lined up, an Irishman, an Italian, and a German, all 3 of them are white. I'm white, and I'm Irish, Italian, and German. And I had 3 black American workers. I would sit here and say, don't you dare hire those 3 H-1B white guys who have the same backgrounds as I do from a nationality standpoint, if you want. Those 3 black Americans deserve those jobs. This has nothing to do with race.
You know, I kind of want to ask you this as like a question, because we've always kind of discussed on our episodes like how if you were in charge, you would handle mass deportations and closing the border. But let's just say you were commander-in-chief, maybe on an executive order framework or just leadership style. How would you handle the overall visa process? Because I know there's different levels, because if we get an Oppenheimer genius from Europe and he wants to come to America and really assimilate and he's the top of the 0.001%, you know, of course, let's bring him over. But how would you, I guess, just put it all together so we're taking maybe the actual best, but limiting immigration?
Well,
you know?
I'm going to answer your question by telling you what I wouldn't do.
Okay.
Ryan, play the video of Trump.
You need. Why'd you change your mind on H-1B visas, sir?
I didn't change my mind. I've always felt we have to have the most competent people in our country. We need competent people. We need smart people coming into our country. And we need a lot of people coming in. We're going to have jobs like we've never had before.
But sir, you said you changed your position. You plan to go to the Carter funeral next?
Okay. You're too young for this, but anybody watching this program will remember what I'm talking about. And I've used this example before in one of my movies, so you'll know what I'm talking about. There was an old show on television. It was called I Love Lucy, one of the best TV shows you ever watched if you want to laugh. And in this one particular episode, Lucy is working in a chocolate factory. And her job is to pick up the chocolates, wrap them, and put them back on the conveyor belt. And it starts coming in where the chocolates are coming in, and she could do it, and she's wrapping it, she's coming in, she's wrapping it, she's going, she's wrapping it. And then they turn on the belt. It goes faster. Now all of a sudden, Lucy is doing it, and now she's panicking, and there are little chocolates getting by. And then they turn it on even faster. She can't even get one wrapped. She's taking them, she's stuffing them in her mouth, she's stuffing them in a shirt, she's throwing them to the side, and everything's getting through. Nothing's getting wrapped. That is our immigration system today. We don't have the people to vet these people. And I've got Donald J. Trump, who I respect hugely. I voted for 3 times. I'm going to champion all 4 years for him. But when he makes a mistake, I'm going to call it out, because this is not the United States of Trump, okay? Trump is 78 years old. His time is coming to an end. I have children. I'm going to have great-grandchildren. One of these days, I'll have grandchildren. I am here about the longevity of the United States of America. When he makes a mistake, I'm going to call it out. I'm not going to be like some of these people I see on the X platform or whatever, turning their tune. All of a sudden, H-1B is great. Had I asked these people 6 months ago about H-1B before Elon Musk and all the other different stuff, they would have said, oh, we got to shut that down. So let me tell you what I would do. I would go back to the chocolate factory, and I would take the ratchet, and I'd go all the way back to bring that thing to the most slowest possible thing you can possibly get, where Lucy can pick up one chocolate, wrap it up, inspect it, look at it 10 times over, put it back on the belt, and let it go through. And then what I would do is I'd start training more Lucys and say, now we have enough people to really vet, to really ensure that Elon Musk and Tesla tried hiring Americans and couldn't get anybody for that job. We did the audit. We saw that they went to schools and colleges and tried to recruit from colleges, and that they put out, advertisements and did, career days, and they did all of it, and they came up empty. We can't find anybody who could do AI code. So we're going to have to go to India. We're going to have to go to China. Then and only then do we say, okay, we're going to open it up for you for some people, and we're going to inspect those people. Oh, by the way, on your dime, Tesla, because Tesla right now and all these players, they pay peanuts to get on this list. You're going to pay for the vetting. It's going to be $25,000 to vet this person. So you better make sure you want that one. I would put every single last safeguard for safety. I would put in every single last protocol to make sure that the American citizen is not paying for their own replacement. And of course, I would make sure that every single American citizen was given a job that they were entitled to, if indeed there was a job opening for that. When you do that, let me tell you what happens. A, you get rid of the H-1B program because the Teslas of the world are going to say, we can find that work here in the United States if we want to look hard enough. We just may have to pay the money that we have to pay. And I don't want to hear shit from Tesla or Microsoft or Facebook or Google or Apple. Go take a look at their quarterly reports every single last quarter from the FEC, SEC, all these different things. They've got cash. Apple has so much cash, they don't know what to do with it. Google's got so much cash, you can build the White House in $1 bills, and they would still have gazillions left over. These companies are making a fortune at screwing the American citizen. So now you're going to start using that cash. You really want that guy from India? You really want that guy from China? Well, you're going to pay up and you're going to show up. And once you do that, you'll wind up seeing that these companies will readjust how they do things, and then they'll start giving money to schools and to colleges. All of a sudden, you'll start to see that universities will have the Apple wing or the Tesla department or whatever it may be, where these grants are going to go in and they're going to say, go get me the best and the brightest from the United States of America who can come here. We will help train them in these universities. The other thing that I would do that I don't hear anybody ever talking about, nobody, you see it. I never hear Musk talk about this. I never hear Trump talk about it. I don't even see J.D. Vance anymore, so I can't hear him talk about it. Our school system is absolutely screwing every single last kid in the United States of America. We don't teach science, technology, engineering, or mathematics anymore. We don't teach spelling. We don't teach reading. We teach wokeness. We teach the LGBTQ protocols. We put up flags that have rainbows. We're asking kids to talk about, how they feel inside or how to be a YouTube star. Let's get back to the basics. We've done reports in 2024 on this show about how there's school districts in Chicago where not one kid in an entire school can read at their grade level. And you want to know why we feel like we need to go get people from overseas? Let's start teaching our kids the basics again.
And you know what? People had come out with that too. And Musk's response to it was very disappointing in my opinion, because I think he said something like, if you need a school, you already lost. But it's like you go for months on end talking about how we need to, pump education levels up here, like real education, but then you and Vivek are going to kind of make the 180 and still slam us for being, lazy and out of touch. And that, Vivek's whole premise is that we could get back to the American greatness, but like for now, we really need the talent. Like, are you just saying that a whole generation of Americans are going to be swiped under while you use the H-1B system? And, there was a graphic I saw on X that I was going to send to you. It's a breakdown of all these different very big accounts, and it's, Team USA, Team Elon. And it may sound a little juvenile, but I understand what the premise is. In my opinion, America first is supposed to mean Americans first. Mm-hmm. And Vivek specifically keeps talking about how America is this sports team, that it needs to increase the GDP, blah, blah, blah. But you know what a sports team really is? Players that get traded every once in a while, jersey colors that switch up. Maybe every few years you change the logo or the emblem to do a rebranding. America doesn't do that. We're a nation. We're a foundation.
That's right.
Maybe we've changed because we've added stars to the flag, but it's always been the America flag. So America first, in my interpretation, is supposed to be Americans being put first. And what I feel like they've kind of done is made America first of, oh, we really got to build this nation because we got to get to Mars first. We got to get to here first. We got to have the biggest weapons in case of whatever. And I'm all for, the strength through defense and deterrence. But how are we supposed to do that if our foundation, our people, are continuing to suffer? Like the examples, they're all there. Just go to X, H-1B examples. And people are posting about how They're graduating from school, trying to become an engineer, top engineer. They've been denied by X. They've been denied by SpaceX. They've been denied by Tesla, Google, all of them. Countless stories. There are guys who literally said they've been denied because they're a male and they wanted a female for the DEI. So it is so abused. I think there needs to be this giant overhaul, kind of like what you just described, where we're really taking the best of the brightest. The I Love Lucy example, I think, is fantastic because that scene is so iconic. And we really need to make it where we're actually vetting again. And then those positions that can easily be filled up by Americans are. And we're all in agreement here. It's why we voted for Trump. Let's really revamp education. So, if we got to get rid of the DOE, let's get rid of it and then implement something where we're actually doing it on merit-based for Americans so that they can get these jobs that they're very much capable of doing, as much as a Indian on an H-1B visa that got hired as a Tesla engineer. It's so clear that they're showing their hand in a way with this issue, because Elon could get slammed throughout the year by liberals and the leftists, and he takes it in stride. But as soon as this arises, I feel the reaction here has been a little bit on the censoring territory.
A little bit? It's a lot of bit on the censoring territory. It's a lot. I'm looking right here for a woman who just texted me the other day on X. I just got too many to go through. But she had said that her son has been looking for a high-tech job, and he can't get it. He can't find one. And he's got all the degrees. He's got all the experience. He's got everything. Here it is. This is from a woman named Eileen Niklas. My son graduated with a BS in computer programming and can't even get an interview. Mm-hmm. They post jobs and then say they can't find qualified Americans, then apply for the H-1B visas to fill those spots. 62% of STEM graduates are not working in their field of study. 62% of Americans who graduate with a science, technology, engineering, and mathematics degree are not working in that area. So think about this. These kids are going to school. They're dropping $200,000 in student loans, right? They go, they learn all this stuff because that's what they were told to do, and then they can't find a job. So what do? They wind up landing in a sneaker store with a $200,000 degree that they still haven't paid for yet, that's going to be with them for the rest of their life. They're screwed. I mean, tomorrow we're going to have an interview with Colin Buck. He's a health professional. He's amazing. We have it set up because it's the new year and we want everybody to be on a new healthy thing. It's an hour and 45 minutes. And in it, he says, he's 52 years old and he's still paying for his student loan. It's crazy. So don't treat America like it's a sports team. Treat America like it's a family.
Yeah.
Because you know what I wouldn't do? I wouldn't screw my kids. I wouldn't screw my aunt. I wouldn't screw my cousins for some person overseas or for money. Let's treat America like it's a family.
And I want to say something with Trump too, because this is where I don't think Elon will ever be in the same realm. We know, multiple things can be true at once. That statement Trump just made, super disappointing. Would not want to hear it. And I feel like I wouldn't hear 2016 Trump so vehemently defend it. He's always had the little bit of the flip-flop with the legal side of immigration, but hearing that after what we've been going through and voting for him, disappointing. But like I said, multiple truths at one time. I know he loves America.
Trump does.
And the biggest evidence isn't even from 2016 on. Go before 2016 at old videos of Trump when he's in interviews with Oprah or when he was on The View or you can always tell the way he talks about America, he has a love for it. Elon, I think, loves America, but more so because of he gets to have his toy box there and he sees the opportunity, and he's an immigrant. He came from a whole different country. Mm-hmm. Trump grew up in New York. He grew up in America. I bet it burns him to see how New York has transformed since his early days.
Yeah.
So he's going to be at a critical point, and maybe he's got to have someone on his team listen to this podcast or something similar at least. He's either going to have to listen to his base in these next 4 years, because one thing Trump does not like is he does not like being disliked by the people who really love him.
Yeah.
Leftists, he it's like he absorbs that hate energy, but by his base, if he has Stephen Miller coming to him in 2 months saying the latest or it's not looking good, he's not going to be happy. And then you can see the Musk friendship probably start to deteriorate. But he's probably still in Christmas, New Year's mode, or maybe just so focused on getting to inauguration. But he's going to have to make a decision. Either he's going to have to listen to what we're saying here, or he's going to be in Elon's ear, or he's going to have Elon with his ear, and he's going to be siding on getting Tesla and SpaceX pumped up. So he's going to have to make a very critical decision of where he dictates policy.
Elon Musk has his place, a very important place. He allowed X to become a platform where everybody had a voice until recently.
Yes.
Once you started to voice against him in a way that was heavy, look, Elon Musk is always taking on fire, right? He's got, Keith Olbermann saying he should be arrested, he should lose his contracts and all that stuff. He takes that with a grain of salt. What wound up happening here is that these people who all told Elon, Musk, he was God, we love you, you're the best. You saved free speech. You saved America. You're the one who was the reason that we won this election with Trump. My ass. Elon Musk did not win the election. Donald J. Trump won the election. 75 million people went out and voted for him because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were train wrecks. We didn't need X to show us that we were paying 3 times for eggs what we used to be paying, okay? He was definitely a force and another means, another tool to use. But at the end of the day, we win this election with or without Elon Musk. It's definitely easier with him when you have a place to where you can put out videos and you can put out how Trump was shot at and not have to worry about Facebook taking it down or YouTube taking it down because it breaks the policies. But at the end of the day, we still knew that Trump was shot at, right?
Yes.
Okay. So with that in mind, I'm a champion for Elon Musk as long as he stays in his lane.
Yes.
You are a Democrat. We welcome you over. We appreciate who you are. We appreciate all the developments you're starting to make, but we are not going to compromise America first for anybody. And I don't care how much money you have. I am going to defend my country and my fellow countrymen against anybody and anything. You could sit there and you can threaten to take away my check mark or whatever. You know what? I'll tell you, go F yourself in the face. I don't need you. We didn't need you in order to get where we were to where we are as a country, and we don't need you to go further ahead. You have been invited to the table at Mar-a-Lago. Know your lane, know where your expertise are, and admit when you turn around and you undercut Americans, say you made a mistake, and that's that. And as far as people who are watching here who think that we're going a little too tough on Trump or a little bit too tough on Elon, wait until it's your family member who's wound up losing their job. Wait until it's you who winds up losing your life in New Orleans or in some other terror attack. Let's not forget that the 19 terrorists that brought out September 11 were here on visas that were checked and couldn't be caught because we don't have enough time, because we're rubber stamping everybody to come in. Approved. Same thing for these H-1B visas. So until it happens to you, it's all okay. You know how many people I've interviewed in my 20 years who say, I never thought it was a big deal. I didn't think immigration was a big deal. They're just here to pick grapes, or I never thought it was a big deal until they lost their kid.
Disney had their American-based employees train their foreign replacements.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like it is so un-American.
It
this
happens
visa
all the time. It's just the Disney one is the one that got the big attention,
but
and
it
that's been
happened.
around forever.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that's really pissing me off, and we've got to make a commitment for the new year, because if you really want to be great again, if you really want your life to get back to where it was, stop idolizing every single last person who's got a big account. Stop thinking that these people walk on water and never make a mistake. Stop running cover for them. I'll give you an example of something where I think it's kind of sort of pathetic, right? I'm going to read something to you right here from X right now. Biden honors Cheney Thompson with Presidential Citizens Medal. President Joe Biden is set to award the Presidential Citizens Medal, the second highest civilian honor in the United States, to Liz Cheney, a former Republican congressman from Wyoming, and Representative Bernie Thompson of Mississippi. This medal recognizes their leadership roles in the congressional investigation on the January 6th Capitol riot. The award ceremony, highlighting bipartisan efforts post the January 6, 2021 event, also sparked varied public reactions online. So what's he doing? Biden is sitting there and saying, screw you, Trump, screw you, Republicans and MAGA. My last outgoing thing is going to be saying, Liz Cheney, you're a champion. Now, we'll all sit there and say, you scumbag, that's anti-American, you this, you that. We're all going to blast him. But when Trump gets up and says H-1B visas are great, I want even more people coming into the country, when we're freaking saying stop all immigration, legal and illegal, until we could get our crap together, People will scream and yell at that Biden thing on Liz Cheney, which is not going to impact anyone. It is a FU signal. Liz Cheney's going to get some BS medal around her neck. Never talk about it again. It's never going to impact anybody. People are going to go batshit crazy over this. But when Trump is going to allow more people into this country and let H-1B visa go, where Americans like this Nicholas kid who hit 62% of people who went to school can't get jobs, nobody's flipping out. I'm going to flip out. I'm not going to change my ways. As conservatives, it is up to us to keep our freaking morals in check, no matter who it is. There's only one guy who ever walked on water, and he's not in the White House, and he ain't going into the White House. Everybody else is a human being who makes mistakes. And when those mistakes happen, you have to go to bat. You're my son. I love you dearly. I love nobody more than anybody in this world than I do you. If you fuck up tomorrow, I'm going to hammer on you. Why? Because I care about you, because I love you. So when you criticize Trump and say, stop, what are you doing? That isn't you're anti-Trump, you're anti-MAGA, you're a flip, you're a turncoat, you're a scumbag. It's no, I love the guy. I love America. He's going in the wrong direction. We got to turn him around before we fall off the cliff.
It's the age-old question. Would you rather be told what you want to hear, or would you actually rather know what's going on and be able to speak out? And if someone wants to go listen to a particular voice on the side of the right that's going to do the 180 spin of like why this is such a good thing, then listen to them, and you'll see how the burn marks happen over time. Or you realize this is just not a good thing. It's time to speak out. You don't have to call Trump names. We don't have to do this. We don't have to do that. But say, to maybe those that are near the Trump team, hey, this is why this is bad. It's all about, raising your voice and speaking out when you feel that Americans are going to be disadvantaged. It's how you're supposed to be.
I don't know what this whole thing between Trump and Musk is. I mean, I'm all for being friends. I'm all for alliances, 100%. Totally 100%.
It's definitely a bromance of some kind of like.
But there's something about it that just doesn't look right. It just looks a little forced. And I don't know, I said this on X the other day, I don't know who's playing who. Is Trump playing Musk because right now he's got the biggest political platform there is, and Musk is very pro-Trump, and he wants to get out a pro-Trump message? Okay, I get that. Smart Trump. But you're going to play into H-1B visas? Or is it Musk playing Trump because he knows that Trump, if he has one Achilles heel, it's his ego gets in the way. And then when he gets the yes men, he goes into hiring people like Michael Cohen or Anthony Scaramucci or Omarosa. He lines himself up with the wrong people because those people kiss his ass in such a way that he loves it. So Elon Musk, there's a part of me that thinks he is freaking just playing Trump because ultimately he's going to sell Trump on we need to go to Mars. Let's fix freaking Oakland, Philadelphia, Chicago, Louisiana, and all the other different states that are struggling before we worry about freaking Mars.
I know we're going long, but it just has me wondering, because you've always said it before. Trump seems to always surround himself with the wrong people. And I'm wondering if like one of the hardest things as a leader, whether it's a multinational company or an entire nation, is like finding the right people who won't screw you. Like Biden, for example, he is clearly surrounded by the worst of the worst. There are people who are, crazy radical liberals, and then people probably feeding him one information one day because he's got dementia and, going about other things the other day. But even with someone more rational, obviously, like Trump, it just seems like he either attracts like the wrong people who maybe present an agenda at first, but really have their own secret one, and he doesn't catch it until later on. But it seems like he will sometimes have real winners, and then sometimes he surrounds himself with an individual that you question why, because he's only just going to get burned later on.
Because he's a human being. That's the part. So what I read here on all these platforms is people take it the wrong way. It's a difference of me saying that Joe Biden has absolutely destroyed America and me saying I would never do what Trump is doing with H-1Bs. It is two different fundamental things. And so you sit there with the people who you care most about and you try to direct them in the best position you possibly can. You just don't yes them to death. I love you, but if you told me tomorrow that you were going to start doing speed because you wanted to have more energy when we do the podcast, I tell you to stop. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's going to hurt. So this is where the line has to be drawn between sensible and stupid. And we're just being sensible on something that we see is stupid. Now, Trump can do 99 great things and one bad. That's fine. I'm going to focus in on the one bad so we could try to get to 100. Let's try to get that one thing fixed. Yeah, you did great on the other 99. I acknowledge them. Fantastic. Let's move forward. This one here is breaking. Let's fix it. I'm not going to change my tune on that. And anybody who stays committed to that, I have a lot of respect for. Now, with that being said, I want to play one video before we break here. We're going to wrap up the show. I think this video right now is indicative of how out of control liberal cities are, liberal states are, and how big of a challenge we've got to get this country back in its right position. I'm going to warn you right now, this is a tough video to see. It shows a man waiting for a subway and another man sneak up behind him and push him into the train as the train comes. Miraculously, through an act of God, this man didn't die because he fell right between the platform and the train and somehow only got nicked. And he's in the hospital with some with some head contusions. They'll be fine. They think he's going to be fine. But when you watch this, think about the damn evil that has to be presented in order to do this. Play the video, Ryan. Is going, and then bang, he's going to push him. Oh, and then bang, here comes the train. Ryan, let it play one more time. I'm going to walk it through it. So you get a couple of guys that jump in the turnstile. You can see another guy walk behind, kind of pauses. There's a man standing, waiting there. Boom, he gets pushed. Train comes, looks like he's dead, right? But thank God he didn't die. No. Look at this piece of crap on the bottom of the screen, right? Look at this piece of crap. They gave Daniel Penny hell because he tried to save some people. This guy sitting here, this is what they're allowing out in the streets. And you got Hochul, the wicked witch of the East, sitting there making commercials about how safe the subway system is. New York is dangerous. LA is dangerous. All liberal places are dangerous. Trump, I hear now about how it is that all these liberal states are starting to come up with programs to protect from the mass deportations that Trump says he's going to carry out. Let me tell you something. Tom Homan, the border czar, he better have a lot of handcuffs ready because I want to see it, Dennis. I want to see governors, mayors, commissioners who push back against these illegal aliens being deported. I want to see them arrested and gone to jail for aiding and abetting illegal aliens, which is a law. I want to see it because once we take Hochul or we take one of these other radical idiots who say, I'm going to stand up for the illegal aliens, and we put them in jail, this shit ends.
Ugh, that video was just very tough to watch.
It's tough to watch, but that's the country we got.
I know.
That's the country you got. It's not easy to watch people get mowed down.
Yeah, it was committed by 23-year-old Camille Hawkins.
Yeah, Camille Hawkins, another winner, right? So there you go. So that's it for us. A couple little things that we want to go over real quick here at the new year, if you're still with us here. We said some of this yesterday. We want to say it again. A lot of things are coming up right now. A lot of things are coming up where we're making some changes and adding some extra stuff. Tomorrow, our podcast is going to be the introduction of a new... Tomorrow's Friday, right? Yeah. Tomorrow is going to be the introduction... What, you have something...
Are we still live on X?
Should be. Why not?
Okay.
Why?
I think it stopped. I wasn't sure.
Oh, all right.
We're still live on Rumble, but our X feed stopped.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think is important for the beginning of this year and throughout the year, especially for the crowd that is older, that is with us, the people who are 50 and over, not everything can be about politics, you know? Not everything can be about politics. Politics is important. The structure of policy is important. But let's be honest. We all live our lives based on our health, our wealth, our happiness, our relationships, whatever. So I'm starting a new podcast. We've already have the first 4 or 5 all set up and lined up. It's going to be every week, 50 weeks, only 2 weeks that I'll take off on 4th of July and on Christmas. You will see I will have a long form sit down conversation, not an interview, conversation with somebody who's 50 or over and has expertise in something or another and really going to drive home a great message. This Friday, tomorrow, Colin Buck, who's been on the show twice before, sits down with me for an hour and 45 minutes, talks about the importance of starting anew in the new year with health and exercise, and even for older people, younger people, it doesn't matter. It is such an eye-opening interview. You have got to do yourself the favor. You have got to do yourself the good by watching and listening to this program. So every Friday, we're going to wind up having the podcast called Life After 50. Life After 50. So make sure you check in on that tomorrow. Also, if you have not signed up for our newsletters, go to DennisMichaelLynch.com. Sign up with your email for our newsletters. We have an abundance of newsletters coming out. It is our big initiative this year. We have the 47 Report, which is a daily newsletter covering Trump and all the great things that his presidency is going to wind up doing, things that you won't get anywhere else. We're going to be covering that 24/7. You want to be a part of that. Plus the DML News newsletter, which gives you all the news that you need to know for the day, analysis, videos, everything. Go to DennisMichaelLynch.com and sign up for that. All right. Until tomorrow, when we're with you on our new podcast, which is, like I said, Life After 50. It's all about health and wellness tomorrow. It's worth everybody's listen. So until then, may God bless you, our troops, these United States, and Donald J. Trump.
And today's Team D-Mail blessing goes out to Sybil Jacobs.
Sounds good. Run with it. We'll talk to you soon.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the D-Mail News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team D-Mail.